Welcome to the Good Medicine Podcast. This podcast is a multi-part series because the nature of the topic is a bit complex and sensitive. I will be discussing the topic of the God of the Bible, and some say the God of Christianity, Judaism, and Islam, all monotheistic religions. This podcast title is Yahweh, the Two-Faced God, Part 1. Let me start this by saying this is a very difficult topic for me, and I think to know why, we have to start with my personal history. From an early age, I had some very strange experiences. For example, when I was 3 years old, I had this knowing, this overwhelming feeling I had lived before. And mind you, at the age of 3, I had no concept of reincarnation, nor did anyone ever introduce me to such a concept at that age. I can also remember at the age of 3 sensing unseen entities in one particular room, and I could sense they were evil. Once again, I did not have any beliefs, ideologies, or the like in such things as unseen entities or reincarnation, just overwhelming feelings that such things were certain. At the age of 4, I could remember asking myself big questions, like what was the origins of life? What is the meaning of life? What happens when we die, and so forth. I know, very unusual for a 4-year-old, but all I can do is tell you what I experienced. I must have been about 5 when I realized I had a decision to make. To believe in a God or not to believe. And after pondering it a bit, I had an epiphany. At some level, there is an uncertainty to the question that cannot be definitive. So one had to make a choice that seemed most logical to me at the time was that there was some kind of God or divine being. I told this to some people before, and they tell me that it is not possible for a 4 or 5-year-old to ponder such things, but once again, what they think does not matter. All I can do is be honest with myself and tell you like it is. In my philosophy, we are born the way we are. So in my case, for whatever unknown reasons, I had a philosophical mind. So my mind just naturally thought that way. Just as I have heard of great mathematicians who claim to be thinking in terms of numbers at an early age. God, the Tao, nature, or whatever you think causes things to be the way they are, is what I believe causes us to be what we are. And I do not think you have a choice in the matter, at least not in any obvious sense. And I do not think anyone has a definitive answer to why things are such a way. All we know they are. When I was 9 years old and living at a children's home, I had a very close encounter with a UFO late one night. This was a paradigm change for me. And mind you, at this age, UFOs were the farthest thing from my mind. I can remember the day before at the children's home, an older boy by the name of Everett came running into the living room about 7 a.m. screaming that a bunch of commuters in Rock Hill had seen a UFO on their way to work. We all laughed at him and dismissed what he said. Later that night, me and Mark, another kid my age at the children's home, had witnessed a UFO come right up to our window, and at the closet point, it was no less than 20 feet from me. Most likely the same UFO commuters had seen that morning. I got a very long and clear view of it. If my eyes were closed, I would have never known it was there as it was totally silent, but it was huge. Maybe 15 feet in height and 30 feet or more in width. And it was moving at walking speed, just floating effortlessly in the air. It held me in awe because I knew at a gut level, without even thinking about it, this was from another part of the universe, another part of time or another dimension. Whatever it was not from here. It was not man-made. Could I be wrong about that? I could be, as I am always willing to admit I am wrong. I do not know what it was, where it came from, who it was, but I doubt it was from here or man-made. And if it was man-made, it opens another can of worms because there would be all kinds of secret technology being developed and hidden from the public. Over the years, I have heard very logical, very convincing arguments in places like Skeptic magazine, which, by the way, is a good magazine, that make a good case against UFO existing. The problem: how do I lie to myself about my direct experience? I can't. They exist. At least I know that firsthand. And if smart people who have well thought out arguments are wrong about UFOs, could they be wrong about Bigfoot, ghost, and even God? As my favorite guru and billionaire, Dan Pena, says, Never underestimate how wrong you can be, and wrong we can be about all kinds of things. The number of times I have had to admit I am wrong is uncountable. What I have found is that people, in general, whether or not they like to admit it, are dogmatic in every field, be it religion, politics, spirituality, science, and so forth. None of us like to admit we are wrong, and we do not like having our world turned upside down. So for me, this paradigm change was not just a realization that skeptics could be wrong, or that we are not alone in the universe, but it allowed me to be open to any and all information. No matter how out of the way, radical, different, or new, I would listen to it. And I still do. So I have, over the years, inundated myself with a vast array of views. From all kinds of religious views, all kinds of politics views, all kinds of philosophy, all kinds of opinions, all kinds of conspiracy theories, and all kinds of everything. I still don't know it all. Far from it. But I can say I have better grasp on ideology, religion, philosophy than your average person. And I do have some definitive positions on many issues, but it does not mean I would not entertain outside views different from mine, nor would I hesitate to change my mind in the light of new information. I have found most people are not like that. This is problematic on many levels, and we will be getting into that more later. And for this topic, it is certainly problematic, as I am going to be touching upon a very sensitive topic for many: God. I find God, heaven, and the like to be even very sensitive for atheists, as they have taken some of my comments the wrong way, and I notice they are much more sensitive than they ever let on to be. And by the way, I am also very well acquainted with atheist positions. As a matter of fact, I'm a big fan of the late and great Christopher Hitchens, who clearly stated he was anti-theist. And I am a fan of other atheists like Alex O'Connor on YouTube, Sam Harris, Richard Dawkins, and many others. I even have some books by the late and great agnostic Robert Ingersoll. Even though I know, understand, and even admire much of what they say, I still believe in a divine being. So, all their arguments, as well stated as they are, have not convinced me otherwise. They are free thinkers, and so am I. We just have to agree to disagree. From a pure philosophical point of view, I would have to say, if you are pondering if there is a God, gods, or none at all, either way, whatever the case could or would be significant, deeply significant. So for me personally, the concept of a God, of a divine being, is very important. Just like the denial of such an entity is significant and defining for an atheist. I understand where they come from and do not in any way condemn them for it. I am fine with them and have no desire to change their minds. I get it. Some of them have been bashed over the head by intolerant dogmatic ideologies. I get it. Religion has long history of holy horrors, much of which I know more about than both the pious and atheist. I get it. Religious reasoning is flawed in some respects. In my philosophy, we are all where they are because we need to be there for our own personal growth. Although I get a sense, and I can fully understand where atheist angst comes from, they clearly have some animosity and bitterness towards us theists. It does not bother me. Most theists are tone deaf when it comes to atheists, but I do get it. In my philosophy, our biology plays the primary role in who we are, and our environmental conditions a secondary role. I think there is evidence that belief in God, or even non-belief, has some biological role, as does our environment. Since I have grown up in the Western tradition, Christian faith certainly has had a deep influence upon me. Whereas if I grew up under Islam or Hinduism, those traditions would have deeply influenced me. They still have, but not on the level they would have if I had grown up under them. And growing up with no family has had a deep impact upon me, as no one has been there to funnel me into any particular tradition, like being a Catholic, a Jew, or so forth. I have had to make my own way, and certainly all kinds of outside groups have attempted to sway me this way or that. I think they saw it as an easy opportunity to recruit me. They found out otherwise. From cults, to Nazis, to communists, to Mormons, to Muslims, to evangelicals, to Jehovah's Witnesses, to New Age movements, to the identity movements, to Eknikar, to Sikhism, to Buddhism, and countless others. You could say I have been exposed and even overexposed to many different views. In high school, I was around a lot of Jews, so I got exposed to many details of Jewish thought, as well as anti-Jewish thought. I have read a lot of books on comparative religion, like Houston Smith, learned how cults brainwash, and I highly recommend Margaret Singer on the topic on how mind control works and human psychology. And I will say this, I know all the radicals. Yes, I know them all. Too many to list here, but I know them and what they teach. I will say this about the radicals. First of all, you can't ignore them as the mainstream does. It is clear to me, the government, for all their superintelligence from the Ivy Leagues, has a terrible understanding of the religious mind and of radicals. Waco and Ruby Ridge and the wars in the Middle East are a few of examples, and they still are not understanding of it, and I cringe anytime they deal with radicals or the pious. Secondly, the radicals are not wrong about everything, as they do broach topics that the mainstream never addresses, and in my opinion should, but will not. So they have themselves to thank for not doing so, as certainly the radicals will. In my philosophy, you are free to believe, free to think, whatever you want, even if it is wrong. I am not crucifying anyone for anything they believe. I have a very deep understanding of why people believe as they do. You are free to air your views as we fight free speech with more free speech. I think the only way to learn it to actually be open to new ideas and to suppress radical thought, no matter how wrong or how wrong one perceives it to be, never works and is always a colossal failure. I call it the hydraulic effect. Suppress an idea here, it just pops us somewhere else. Ideals like mathematics are eternal. You are not going to get rid of them. So let us put it all out in the open and deal with it as mature adults. Now, I am going through this long introduction here because I am broaching a very sensitive and controversial topic, so I want to tiptoe up to it, and this is going to be a very pinpoint and specific topic, which is this question: is the God of the Bible a two-faced God? And when I say two-faced, I mean as in two totally opposite personalities. As on one hand, a good God, and simultaneously, on the other hand, an evil God, like the split personality of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Now, you have to think about it from my point of view for a moment, an insider, as a believer in God, in Jesus, in the Bible, and as someone who has had many dealings with good Christian people in many different churches, different sects, as well as outside of places of worship. Being intimately familiar with the religious mindset, I know this topic is certainly going to upset many fellow believers. That is not the aim, to make enemies, to upset people, or to drive a wedge between us. I believe in unity and getting along with others. For me, in my philosophy, a search for truth is paramount, even if it means sacrificing some of my sacred cows. I still believe in a divine being, still pray, still hold Jesus in the highest regards, and still hold dearly too many morals of Christian teachings. I still wear a Christian cross because I hold much of it near and dear to me. So it is with the greatest regards and respect I hold for fellow believers. Like I said, I do deeply understand where all people of all strips and beliefs come from, and at a level I can't fully put in words. So in part 2, I will discuss this question. Is the God of the Bible, and for that matter, not just the God for Christianity, but for Judaism and Islam, a two-faced God? With all of that said, I would like to finish by plugging my nonprofit charity, Sakura Home, which is a home I am attempting to build for the mentally disabled. It is a labor of love, and any assistance would be greatly appreciated. Inquiries are welcome as to what I am doing. I am running an open book campaign, which aims to be totally open and honest with my dealings on Sakura Home. Links and contact for more information can be found in the description. Thank you, and sincerely, good medicine.